It's wonderful to be back here at DLD. I find this conference every January here in Munich to be a source of inspiration and hope. And given the state of the world today, I think we could all benefit from a heavy dose of optimism. At Benevolent, we have this message that glows in neon on our wall in our entry lobby. It says, "Because it matters." It shines brightly and inspires and unites us in a shared purpose. It defines and guides everything that we do. We believe that unconventional thinking combined with purposeful technology can truly change outcomes in the world. And that is what I'd like to talk with you about this morning. Our mission is to tackle one of the biggest challenges facing humanity today, and that is there are 9,000 diseases that have no treatment. And there are over 300 million people living and suffering from rare diseases for which no treatment will ever be developed so long as the current economic and development models persist. And while so many industries have been transformed by technology, why does it still cost $2.5 billion to take a new drug from discovery to FDA approval, and 10 to 15 years before it's given to patients? And in terms of efficacy, of the top-selling drugs, 30 to 50% do not work in the patients they're prescribed for. How can it be that these metrics are acceptable? How can we be failing patients on such a catastrophic level? That's because the scaled innovation and advancements, which are the hallmarks of disruptive technologies, have yet to have real impact on the development of new treatments for disease. Now, all of us here today are fortunate. We live in a time when we'll most likely live well into our 90s, far beyond what we ever imagined when we were kids. But while we may live longer, we can also expect to spend our later years unwell. And that has big consequences for the economy and society. Chronic diseases such as Alzheimer's and diabetes are already placing an unprecedented burden on families. Now, roughly 8 out of 10 elderly people suffer from these diseases. And many of us have lived through the agonizing experience of someone we love suffering from a type of cancer or a disease that has no treatment. And if that disease is not a candidate for a blockbuster drug, there won't be a medicine developed for it anytime soon. Now, when someone you love is diagnosed with a devastating disease, this reality hits home. Your life is suddenly turned completely upside down. You become an amateur clinician. You read every article, every journal. You spend every moment online studying results from clinical trials, surgical methods, treatment protocols, and pain management. You engage with anyone who has a point of view in search of that one nugget of information that might change the prognosis or point you in the direction of a novel treatment. But all too often, there is no help to be found. This has to change. Because in this case, failure is not a failure of will. It's not driven by a lack of desire or a lack of commitment of those who work in this field. It's caused primarily by two factors. The first is that human biology is incredibly complex. The human body represents a living, breathing, big data system with over 37 trillion cells. It's a product of millions of years of evolution and infinite numbers of factors and permutations. Combine that with the fact that in the biomedical domain alone, there are more than 10,000 scientific papers published every single day, plus countless data sources in the public domain, including patents, chemical databases, and clinical trials. And you quickly realize it's impossible for even the most learned scientists and research teams to keep up, let alone process the wealth of information that exists and that might be relevant. That's a massive human limitation, but it represents a perfect machine learning opportunity. Furthermore, disease has traditionally been diagnosed by its symptoms or its location in the body, not by its underlying molecular mechanisms, pathways, or biological processes specific to a specific patient, which is why, frankly, medicines that are prescribed often don't work for the patients that receive them. So our mission as a business is to unlock the potential of the vast corpus of data, turning it from information that overwhelms us to knowledge that can inspire the discovery and development of new medicines that work for the patients that need them. We use the power of AI to unlock novel relationships, create new knowledge, and we employ that knowledge in the service of our mission to disrupt and remake the way medicines are developed so that no disease goes untreated. We have developed the world's leading AI-powered drug discovery and development platform to accelerate the journey from data to medicine. It helps research teams and scientists navigate the scale of data that has previously been impossible to process and comprehend. Our inference algorithms and models help uncover new insights and knowledge to discover and develop more effective medicines faster than ever before. Now, we started with an audacious goal to create the world's largest biomedical knowledge base, and that's precisely what we've done. 5 years on, the Benevolent Knowledge Graph contains over 1 billion contextualized, machine-curated relationships, more than a third of which are proprietary, developed to guide the process of validating hypotheses and experiments. Together, these biological facts represent all that is known to be true about a disease. Our algorithms analyze this vast corpus of data, reason across it, and provide scientists with research capabilities beyond human insight. We ingest millions of chemical structures and use state-of-the-art AI to create the largest drug-like chemical space to facilitate the design of the right molecule for the right patient. And we build a suite of tools that make this output interoperable and actionable by scientists. The result is an automated platform that powers target ID to define the underlying cause of disease, molecular design to develop the most effective medicine to treat that disease, and patient stratification to understand how individual patients will respond to that treatment. So our ambition is great and our purpose is clear, but we recognize that no business can revolutionize a sector of the scale of drug development all on its own. To change the status quo of the way medicines are discovered and developed, and to substantially reduce costs and ensure treatments are more effective for patients, we need a dramatically different approach. So in addition to our commercial collaborations, we believe we must be benevolent ourselves. This means that we are not going to use the technology to harvest and ring-fence information, but we plan to open our platform and make it available to academics, researchers, and scientists, not for the benefit of a few, but to enrich us all. Benevolent is the most remarkable company I've ever had the privilege to be part of. Of all the ventures that I've been involved with since I began my career 30 years ago in Silicon Valley, this is the most exciting and ambitious. But by far, it's also the most principled. And let's face it, as AI empowers the next wave of technological advancement, we need moral leadership and strong conviction to ensure that what we develop benefits everyone. At Benevolent, we have 200 biologists, chemists, engineers, informaticians, data scientists working in radical cross-functional squads to push the boundaries of AI, to unlock the power of decades of research, to understand the underlying cause of disease and develop new treatments for the millions of patients who need them. We do it to disrupt and remake the way drugs are discovered and developed. We do it to benefit humanity, and we do it because it matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna, and hello, everybody. That was great. So I'm going to ask Joanna a couple of questions, and then we'll kind of get into a more open conversation and perhaps bring in the audience and wonder if there's a way to turn down the shades. Probably not. So first of all, just it's inspiring, and I'll just make one dig. This is the most principled company you've ever worked for. And what were the other companies?
I worked for a lot of really wonderful technology companies in Silicon Valley, including Google, Facebook, AOL, Bebo, EFI, and Real Networks.
And then you came over to the UK.
Yeah, I came to the UK in 2000, January 2000.
And so your slide, I noticed, mentioned the FDA. How much, I'm curious, your customer base is primarily drug companies? And then that gets to the patients ultimately.
The way we work is our customers, like our unit of commerce is a drug program, but that drug program comes with a data package that has all the experimental information that ensures that the drug will have a much higher rate of success in the clinic, including, the target ID and validation, and ensuring the patient stratification is right for the drug that we've designed to hit that molecule. So all that information comes in a data package to deliver to the pharma company to be more successful in the clinic.
But presumably, you don't just get an RFP and then say, here's your data package. I mean, I assume you're working closely with the drug company, with their molecules, with their patients.
Right.
So it's more like a collaboration and so forth. So the biggest question is the source of your data. Not is it the right people or is it private, but more you can only look at the data you've got. And so as I understand it, you have huge numbers of published medical papers from journals talking about drugs and diseases. And there's two challenges there. One, most of the negative papers don't get published. And the second is, if you don't put in the right data, like maybe the cause of somebody's disease is where they live or the food they eat, that is not in the data. And so what do you do about that? Where do you see that going so that we actually know more about the patients and understand what's happening?
So I'll answer the first part of your question. We have a heritage of developing our own drugs. So some of the drugs that we have in lead optimization, for instance, in the next 12 months will be available to be licensed out to a pharma partner. So we're developing our own drugs. We're also working with a number of pharmaceutical companies who will come to us and say, we have these targets. Can you interrogate them? Can you help us refine the right one? Or can you help us, define or understand what patient endotypes might be, why they're not responding to that particular drug, and how we might reposition a current drug into the market. And then the second part of your question was about, the data and how this, how we go about this. First of all, the benevolent knowledge graph is disease agnostic. So we ingest absolutely everything. So every night we ingest more and more papers. So there's 10,000 papers published every night. We take everything in. So we've developed the inference algorithms that reason across that. Our own taxonomies, our own classification. We've gone through the process of 5 years of looking at what is relevant, and we've developed 22 entity types. So we, as a scientist, you can go in and you can say, I want to take a slice of this and look at these gene-protein relationships, and you can ask the system all kinds of questions. I don't know if you saw it when I was talking, but you can do like a live query and do research that would take like years, and you have all that accessible. And the most important thing about this is that we're never going to have all the information. But somebody's got to do this because, we need it, because there's valuable insights that can be drawn from existing published papers and, patent databases and drawings and chemical databases and all the things that are out there. No one has sort of synthesized this, which is why we have the challenge of so few drugs hitting the market. I think last year was a banner year and there were 65 drugs that hit the market. I mean, there's still 9,000 diseases. There's so much work to be done.
Right, but there's still so much data that's not there. I mean, and that's when working directly with a pharma is much more useful, because they actually do know who are the people this drug didn't work for, as you said yourself, and let's investigate them. Let's see what makes them different from the ones whom it did work for. And
yeah, but I think the biggest source of data that we're finding, the most valuable sources are from disease charities. Like if you look, we're working in a program on ALS, and we work with Citran Labs in Sheffield. They're affiliated with the University of Sheffield in the UK, and they have patient stem cell data and information, and they're desperate to work with us. And we're working with them, and we're in the process of taking four molecules through lead optimization, and there's some promising results. It's a little early to say, but this is such a powerful partnership. Whereas, it's really hard to extract data from pharmaceutical companies. It's siloed, it's program by program. Some of it is off in an Iron Mountain somewhere. It's really difficult to get your hands on that data. And it's not always the best data because it's data that is meant to deliver a drug to the market. What we really want is to be agnostic and to look at everything and to not, the whole idea behind this is that scientists sit around a table and they say, I have an idea about something. What we're trying to say is step back from that, get rid of your biases, and look at this with a fresh set of eyes. And, then the human augmentation of those results is what's really powerful.
Yeah.
When I mentioned we have over a third of our graph is proprietary, it's because of those experiments that we run and the experimental loop and how valuable that is to feed that back into the knowledge graph. And so it's constantly learning based on the experiments that we're running.
Right.
Which is why we need to open up, and it's why we want to offer this, this vast corpus of knowledge to academics and researchers so they can use it for their benefit, but also contribute data and experiments so that it gets richer every day.
Now we have only 3.5 minutes left. I'm wondering if there's one burning question. And if not, okay. Yes, right there. Just loudly and I'll repeat it.
Yeah.
So would you be cooperating with Dr. Watson, or is that a competitor? Is Dr.
Are you
Watson
cooperating with Watson or
would that be
competing?
potential cooperate?
I mean, sure, I suppose so, but no, we haven't worked with them.
Let me try. So there's all the data in the published papers, and there's all the statistical data.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, you also are doing something, to my mind, very interesting as well, which is modeling the molecules and sort of the chemical reactions so that you can actually understand the chemistry.
The generative chemistry models is a very important part of this process because if you've identified a target and then you find a molecule you think might hit that target, then there's the whole process of deducing whether that will actually work, and then the experiments, the patient level assays, you run through these experiments and then you come back and feed that data back in, and it usually takes years. So the big benefit of the system end to end, from data ingestion all the way to where you have a preclinical candidate, is that we can reduce that time substantially. So we're working on the whole problem. We think about the patients that a drug will benefit from the very start. We don't look at it in isolation. Like someone says, let me build the best molecule to hit that target. Well, that's kind of, you're separating the whole process when you have to think of it as a holistic research challenge and approach it with this platform perspective.
So can you talk a little about what stage you're at? You mentioned ALS as being very promising. Will that be your first, and where are you in terms of corporate development? I know you've been around and you've changed your model from this kind of siloed, we'll do our own drugs, to if you can work with a bunch of different pharmas on different drugs, you can get much more value out of that same foundation.
Well, I joined the company back in April last year, and I was amazed at, I didn't know anything about the company before I met the founders, and I was amazed at the work they'd done. I was at Google in the early days when we were creating, maps and the books products and assembling all that data and making it, useful for people. And I couldn't believe the level of work that they had done and how much they had accomplished. But what needed to happen is that the company had been developing its own drugs, but they had built such a valuable platform. We needed to make it robust and collaboration ready, which is what we've been doing for the last 9 months. So now we're ready to start doing, deep collaboration work with pharma partners, as well as continuing our own drug discovery and development programs.
And can you name any of those partners?
Very soon. I wanted to have one today, but you know how it goes. It takes time. We're in the final stages with a number of companies.
Can you name any diseases beyond ALS that you're specifically
Well,
focused
yeah, I
on?
can tell you that we are, in addition to, the knowledge graph, we're going deep into a mechanistic area of focus. So we're working in inflammation, which of course inflammation is a mechanism that is involved in any of a number of diseases, from rheumatoid arthritis to ulcerative colitis to, there's so many different diseases where that's a mechanism.
Things go better with Coke. They go worse
Yeah.
with inflammation.
That's true. And the second one is neuronal protection, which is our ALS program, is the standout program in that area, but that's a really strong area of development for us. And the third area is in stem cell survival. So we're working on senescence as, how do we stop our cells from deteriorating as we get older? I don't think it'll happen fast enough for me, but it's promising.
Everyone here is a candidate for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to beat the gong. It says 0, so I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to hearing who you're working with, because probably several of us have that disease, whatever it is.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.